Once we're contenders, now all befrienders. Oh, let's celebrate lasses and lads. Where once we're contenders, now all befrienders. Let's celebrate lasses, celebrate lasses, celebrate lasses, celebrate lasses. What's going on?
What's up, folks? Mike for CMCC Builds here with another 5-minute build where we create a character in
less than 5 minutes.
If you're excited for the return of this series, you can thank my patrons who voted for this video. If you want to influence future video selections or get character sheets for all my builds, check out my Patreon. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, share, all the YouTube things. Today is part 1 in a 2-part 5-minute build series on the Ranged Swords Bard. Today's build will be the 5e version, and in part 2, we'll look at the Baldur's Gate 3 version, which is one of the most powerful builds in that game. If you like bards, if you like dishing out a ton of damage, if you like versatility with both ranged and melee weapons, if you like spell swords and gishes, I think you're gonna like this one.
All right.
Let's get rockin'!
Starting with 5e, the race we're gonna take is, of course, custom lineage. Doesn't exist in Baldur's Gate 3, gives us a free feat and a +2 to a stat. For a build like this, those are all the things we want. For your size, be a medium creature because this will affect the spell that we take down the line. I think you can guess what that is. Dimension Door. With the free feat, Crossbow Expert is mandatory on this build. If you want to effectively range, most builds will take this and of course Sharpshooter. We'll hold off on Sharpshooter because getting a second attack in tier 1 is a bit more powerful than Sharpshooter in most cases. For the variable trait, go with Dark Vision. For ability scores, 8 Strength, only a 14 in Dex, yes this is a ranged build, 15 Constitution, 8 Intelligence, you're a musician not a scientist, 10 Wisdom, and of course 15 Charisma. Bump Charisma to 17 where it will stay for a bit. Take whatever background works for your concept and party. For equipment, eventually get yourself half plate, a rapier, and a hand crossbow. With our starting class, we're going with the Hexblade. We're a rock and roll bard. Sold our soul for the Platinum Album. What we want here is Hex Warrior. It gives proficiency in martial weapons, in shields, which is suspiciously absent from the Swords Bard's proficiencies, but most importantly, we want the ability to touch a one-handed weapon we're proficient in and use Charisma as our mod. And yes, that does include the hand crossbow, which lacks the two-handed property. For our Hexblade spells, take Booming Blade. It's not available to bards, and if you do find yourself in melee, it can be helpful to do a little extra damage, especially at levels 5 and 6, where this build will need some help. For the second cantrip, no, I'm not taking Eldritch Blast. This is a ranged weapon build. Eldritch Blast fulfills the same role, and spoiler, we're not getting Invocation, so things that make Eldritch Blast great will be absent from this build. We're going to take Create Bonfire. Why? Because when you're at range and fighting super high AAC enemies, having a spell that can do damage with a saving throw is a strong alternative. And as we've seen in the Gauntlet, this spell can do damage to 4 enemies if positioned correctly. And it can also burn inanimate objects, which provides some utility and additional uses. For the level 1 spells, Shield is an absolute must. It's busted and not on the Bard spell list. For the second spell, Hex is a trap. Our bonus action is Taken. Hellish Rebuke is a fine pick, but I'm taking Armor of Gathis. It's a nice just-in-case spell. You're in a tight room, kiting and range are unlikely, or at least difficult. Stack up on those defenses. Okay, so now to the good stuff. From levels 2 through 7, Bard. Proficiencies, take whatever you want. Flute, because we're jamming.
Do you play jazz flute?
I dabble.
And Persuasion to help us be the face of the party. At Bard 3, Colored Swords. We're here for the flourishes. Use them. From range, defensive and mobile flourish will be the go-tos, in stark contrast to BG3. For the fighting style, unfortunately, our options suck for this build. Take Dueling in case you need to whip that sword out in melee. It can do okay damage with your modest 14 dex. At Bard 4, Sharpshooter. You're dishing out very solid damage now. Most martials have extra attack, but you have 2 attacks and power attacks and a ton of spells. At 5, you get those Bardic Inspiration dice that power your flourishes back on a short rest. And at Bard 6, character level 7, you get an extra attack, 3 in total. At this point, we hop out of Bard and into Fighter for just 1 level. This gives us the archery fighting style and a bit of healing with second wind. We're not sticking around for action surge, we want spells, so back to Bard we go. At level 8, use Fey Touch Charisma to bump your main stat to 18 and pick up 2 spells, Misty Step and something like Gift of Alacrity to get that fantastic boost to initiative. At level 12, Bard 10, Expertise and 2 skills, pick whichever you want. Arcana and Sleight of Hand are good options, and more importantly, we get Magical Secrets. Here, take Fine Greater Steed. Now you can summon a Pegasus, fly around the battlefield at 90 feet per round, 180 with a dash, blasting enemies with sharpshooter attacks. Oh, and on top of that, we're also taking Holy Weapon. Magical hand crossbows are very rare in official published 5e adventures. Unless your DM is nice, it's likely you won't have a magic weapon for some time. This solves for that and adds a 2d8 radiant damage to each of your hits, which can be a big boost in damage for you, especially against enemies with non-magical weapon resistance. It is concentration, so be aware, a lot of those great Bard concentration spells will conflict with this one. At Bard 12, level 14, take the feat Resilient Constitution to get your con to 16 and help support all those concentration spells you're casting. Bard 14, round 2 of Magical Secrets, and here we're dipping right into the Wizard playbook by taking both Simulacrum and Contingency. Dimension Door is a Bard spell we're taking, and that combos nicely with Contingency to get you out of danger when you're in the thick of it. We also get Master's Flourish to allow us free uses of our Blade Flourishes. At Bard 16, character level 18, max out Charisma with your ASI, and at level 20, your 9th level Magical Secrets. Wish is a no-brainer, and snag Mass Heal as the ultimate in-game healing spell. The Bard's Power Word Heal is garbage, don't take it, go with this instead. And before we bounce out, let's take a quick look at some of the spells you can take to facilitate your crossbow firing. Pegasus Riding, Flute Diddling Badass. Okay, that's the build. How'd we do on time? Not bad. Stay tuned for the next video where we do the same thing, but with Baldur's Gate 3, where the range slashing flourish is absolutely broken. Once again, please like, share, subscribe, and check out my Patreon for the build right up to this and my other characters. Thanks, folks. See you here next time.